Hi, I'm standing in front of a church door similar to the door that Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses to 500 years ago on October 31st, 1517. That was the start of the Protestant Reformation, a movement to correct certain problems in the Catholic Church of the time. Now, might there be any Martin Luthers making a similar critique of the evangelical church today? After all, any organization or movement inevitably calcifies from the encrustations of time and periodically needs reform that reinvigorates it, calls it back to its roots, and helps it focus on the right things. Calls for reform can expose our blind spots, mission drift, and untested assumptions. The evangelical church has had a run of several hundred years, and who's to say we ourselves are not in need of reform? A healthy church needs to be open to that possibility if it wants to stay healthy. Calls for reform should be examined, tested, and if valid, accepted. But even if not accepted as a whole, there could still be a part of the call to reform that points to opportunities for improvement. We shouldn't dismiss our critics too quickly, because God could be using them to speak prophetically to us. Well, here are some tips to help you make the most of any critiques or calls for reform that come your way. Some issues aren't all that significant and will disappear on their own. But a call to reform on a significant issue is likely to gain traction and be sustained over a period of time because the reformers are heavily invested in bringing about change. Either the pressure will continue to mount for you to reform, or they will take matters into their own hands and they will move ahead without you. The world will not stop and wait for you. We may have some history to apologize for. Be humble and get the dialogue off to a good start by acknowledging past actions that have made the situation worse today. It may take a while to build enough trust with the reformers to have a meaningful conversation with them. And don't let fear prevent engagement. Have faith that God is involved in your affairs and will support you through challenging times. If we've made a mistake, admit it and do the right thing. Our goal is not to save face, it is to be faithful. Pride will stop honest dialogue and self-examination in their tracks. The only way forward requires humility. Engage in the spirit of inquiry with the goal of exploring and discovering what is right together with the reformers. If agreement is not possible, you can always end in disagreement if necessary and still have made some progress or improvement. But you won't even get that far if you create barriers to engagement. And be sure to understand the other's position completely and to acknowledge weaknesses in your own position. Calls for reform in the church should be taken as an opportunity for self-evaluation with the goal of becoming the very best church possible. We don't need to agree with everything that others believe in order to learn something from them. God bless.